No music.
Oh, friends, the Podcastronauts! Hello and welcome once again to the very professional Anomaly Presents podcast. My name is Matt Austin. I probably cut off like 4 seconds of that. If you're listening to this in podcast land, you don't know any difference. You probably do because I was too lazy to go back and put it back in. But anyway, this is Anomaly Presents. It's a podcast about the movies that inspired a genre film festival. That's the Anomaly Film Festival in beautiful, historic Rochester, New York, this November 6th through the 10th at the Little Theater. So many fun independent genre movies you haven't seen yet. Maybe one or two you've seen before, but who can tell? Certainly not us. We haven't picked anything yet.
No.
So get ready. It'll be just as much a surprise to you as it is to us right now.
Shh. We know exactly what we're doing. This is how the process works.
Yeah.
This is how the sausage is made. 6 years in. This is our 6th year, so we have a pretty good idea.
The apple juice is made. How the apples are crushed.
How the apples are crushed. I like it. We're
Nice.
the Martinellis
To
of
our
film.
movie. I was like,
Nice.
Yeah.
You did it.
tonight-
You brought that in.
I love it. Thank God you're here, KP. So we're going to talk about a horror comedy classic, kind of a cult classic. I don't even know if it's a cult classic anymore. I think there's just like a widespread love for this movie anymore. It is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah.
With me are the podcastronauts. As always, we've got Kristen Pelk-Pacheco.
hello, everybody.
And we've got Megan Murphy.
Yay. Okay. I did wear the shirt. I gotta raise it up so you can see it. Listeners, I'm raising it up just because that's where the camera is. Okay, now I'm putting it back down. But I made a promise and I did it. Thanks, Fright Rags.
Yes.
Yes, from our friends at Fright Rags. Meg has a very, very cool,
it's so cool
Behind the Mask shirt. Be the
Lovingly
envy of all your friends.
Yes. I mean, you probably can't get any more. Sorry. Too slow.
I just saw an email. They're going to start doing on-demand T-shirts. It might come up.
Shut up. I'm trying to feel cool for a second, okay?
It might come up.
Oh my
so
God.
if you like the shirt, you probably can't get your hands on it now, but if there's enough of an outcry, our good friends might print one up for you.
Yeah.
But for right now, Meg is the coolest kid in school.
100%.
The belle of the ball.
Thank you. That's all. I am the belle of the ball. Okay, thank you.
the belle of this serial killer murder plot.
Yeah.
The belle of Glen Echo.
Here we go.
There it is.
I don't want to live in Glen Echo. I love this movie, but I just feel like I'd be bummed out there. I gotta be honest.
It seems like it kind of sucks a little bit. It's Behind the Mask. We can do a plot synopsis. I do have a trailer if you prefer trailer, or if Meg, you want to take a crack at the trailer, let me know, or both.
Oh, let's do both. Let's do the trailer because I like that we can do trailers.
All right. So here we go. We're gonna roll. You know what's cool about this? It's even got the green MPA slide on it, so like it's professional.
Ooh.
It's the official one, and here it is.
Step 1, find the location. Step 2, find the girl with the group.
You mean victims?
Potato, whatever. If I want to build a reputation like Freddie or Jay or Mike, I'm gonna have to hit the gas pedal a little bit, increase my exposure. You want to top off? Eugene is an old pro in the biz.
I've had my head cut off, my eyes gouged out. This is nothing.
Why don't you go start the grill?
You have no idea who you're dealing with. It is going to get wet in here tonight. Lace your boots up, kiddies.
I made a choice to provide a counterbalance to all those things that we hold good. You chose journalism.
Okay.
There it is.
MySpace link at the end there. Below 2006.
2006 is Behind the Mask, complete with MySpace link. Do you think Tom was in their top 8?
Right. Oh, maybe. I don't think that trailer sells it right. I think they might have had a part of the reason it didn't get the audience it needed is I don't think that trailer shows its strengths enough.
Explain. I'm interested.
Okay. Right.
How so?
Okay. First, I think okay, so the rhythm of the trailer is kind of hitting at a particular kind of like early 2000s almost comedy thing. Like the music, the pop pop pop, the fact that it mixes in the documentary scenes with the end part where we are seeing it from a like third person narrative, which kind of ruins that end part. And I guess I don't think it is showing how like it's very like it's there's a lot of talking, it's a lot of conversations between Leslie and Taylor, and a lot of explaining, not just like ha ha ha, I call Jason J, but like, oh no, he's very much, this is his life's work, and he's very charming, and it's very interesting to watch, but also you are dealing with the fact like at what point would you get involved in like, oh, he's actually going to kill some people. And I think it's that friction between the like, oh, listening to the charming guy and oh yeah, but he wants to be like Michael Myers. I don't know, I don't think it totally pulls together what I think is unique about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it was leaning really hard into that, Scream Kevin Williamson
It's quippy, and I'm
trailer
like,
vibe.
yeah. Like it did not, unfortunately. Like I think Scream looms heavy over this, and it is also dealing with like a little bit of deconstruction. I actually think this deconstructs slashers more than Scream did. But I think that like that looms over it. So if people are like, oh, is it Scream? I'm like, it's not Scream. It is a different kind of movie, but if you're comparing it, it's not. It doesn't have that like same, I don't want to say CW in a negative way, but okay, I like Scream, but there's a CW-ness to it that is not in Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Absolutely. I think it's a difference in tone where this is very much a, it starts out as a verite kind of thing where you're just following him around, almost like a Spinal Tap, but for horror movie fans.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very much kidding on the square for a lot of it, for that first hour or so.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like, hey, horror films are cool. It has lots of visual and like references, like the fact that like we're going like, oh, hey, like Camp Crystal Lake, and oh, here's Elm Street, and it's Kane Hodder going into the Elm Street house. Great stuff. Only a horror person's gonna know. Taylor standing outside the Red Rabbit Inn in the beginning. That's from Halloween. Literally, her sweater in the beginning is very Mrs. Voorhees. It's that, but I think not in a in your face way. Just in a, oh yeah, we're all horror people who like hanging out here.
Nods. We're dropping you into this world, and all the movies you enjoy in this world are real, right?
Yeah.
Like they exist and operate.
Those creepy communion girls jumping rope, just hanging out outside the high school. Just Nightmare on Elm Street nightmare, just hanging out. Like apparently in this world, this happens all the time. And they're like going almost in slow-mo. I'm like, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So it lets you know, like, oh, it's not our world.
Yeah.
There's something otherworldly at work here, right?
Yeah, well, or at least like, because I mean, we can talk about this more about. I don't think Leslie is supernatural in any way, but I think that this is a world where this does happen, and I think it's interesting that like, well, I have things to say about that, but okay. I don't want to get there yet.
We'll put in it, but I just like.
No, I have an answer to that about he is not supernatural, and the movie answers that. But yeah. So I like that you take a odd world, but you're dealing with it in a very real way, like. A journalism student is coming here and saying like, what's up? I got access to someone who's going to try it.
She's trying to make a big break. She has this story. And so ultimately, right, she's very excited on this and not considering the ethical aspects of it.
Yeah. Like that's part of her journey is like, oh crap. Yeah, because he's doing what he says he's gonna do. Like at no point is he like, I'm not gonna kill anybody. He's like, oh, he's saying, I'm hunting these teenagers. I have a plan. I've got everything set up. I want to be the next level slasher. I love that it's like there's the ones who like really took it to the next level. Like that he respects them on a professional level.
Very much that same kind of like hero worship of the 90s serial killers. Like when they have trading cards and all that, it's that, but in that fantasy world. It's funny as hell. Like,
Yep.
And I think the movie does a really good job in the beginning to be like, you're kind of in Taylor's shoes. It like, God, this guy's kind of charming, and he's explaining his purpose well, and he's kind of letting you in on like, oh, I've learned a little. You got to learn a little close up magic, and you got to do cardio, and like you got to set the play. And it's like, oh, okay. He's like telling us to see, like you are in this thing of going like, I'm a horror fan. I'm interested to see how you would approach this, which I
And
think really kind of sets it up.
yeah, and he does it in a way so you're just like, yeah, he's not a killer. Like it's very disarming, right? Like with
Yeah.
the deck of, oh, who has a deck of cards? Who carries around a
Sure.
deck of cards? And it's like, oh, it's a fun parlor trick instead of
Yeah.
being like, oh, this man will be gruesomely murdering people and
Yeah.
terrorizing this town.
Yeah.
Before you know it,
Yeah. Yeah.
teenagers, children, which she recognizes very
Right.
late,
Yeah.
but
Eventually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Some would say far too late.
ugh,
She has a couple chances. Like Taylor. He killed a librarian, Taylor. Now there is death. Like
Yeah,
at this point,
but
know he's actually gonna do it.
he's like, she's old, but it's the
Yeah.
17-year-old where then the brain cells start kicking in.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, not only are these children, but who are getting murdered, but the children, and you're expecting them to be like warriors. And it's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's very much on purpose for the story.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. Plus, as we know going on, like he specifically picked Taylor. So like this is there's two things going on. It's what he says he's doing and actually what's going on, which is super interesting when you rewatch it again. Because you very much see like, oh, I see.
And I mean, he tells you the gig right from the front when he starts talking about the red herring and defines that.
Oh yeah, the movie, like again, the second watch, you're like, fuck.
It's so smart.
Well played. Like everything is laid out. But like it's also a movie that you don't need to like solve, but it's very interesting going back and seeing that those pieces are there,
Yeah, that they actually did the work they laid the groundwork, and it's not just like, yep, I'll on a second watch, it's like, oh, I never even saw that coming because of whatever reason. Like they didn't actually do it because yeah. I think going back and rewatching it where he's like showing her, oh, this is where, she will crawl out of and be like reborn. And you're like, well.
it's great because I love it. Yeah, I love it. One of my other favorite things is I love the secondary characters. I love that it's Robert Englund as the Ahab, the idea that you always have, like he's Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, he's doing his best out of Donald Sutherland, and it's so good.
But with the black gloves, which I think just really set it off. Like I'm like, he did it more fashionable. But I'm like, oh, that's so fun because your inner horror person's like, woo.
Yeah, like he made it. He has an Ahab. Like it's a level of stardom, right? Like
And I love that at that point we're still like, oh my god, good job, Leslie. And I love
cheering and then asking the questions like, oh, and then immediately like the next day the bubble is burst. And like, well, it starts to be, I think, pulled at, right? Like, oh, he's not who he says he is. What is going on here? Like, and how accusatory kind of. He's like, why are you following this child?
Yeah.
What do you want with this girl? Like,
and I love his mentor Eugene and his wife. I think that's such a great thing to add. And like, oh yeah, like I had someone from the 60s, 70s, and he's really been supporting me. And they're just like really into it. And I love the idea that like the director has literally said that in an earlier script, he's very much supposed to be Billy from Black Christmas.
Oh, is that
very
right?
specifically? Yeah, because people had mentioned that before. He's like, yeah, like in an earlier one, he's much more specifically that, but he wanted to widen it out a bit. But the idea that he's a slasher from that time period, right before we get Jason, we get Freddy, we get Mike, like right before Halloween, basically.
Yeah.
That was kind of sweet. I like his like and I'm gonna bring this up because this is something that proves that Leslie's not supernatural. I love the little deprivation tank where Eugene is still practicing by getting buried alive to control his breath. And I love his wife who like you realize, I'm going to keep saying final girl. I know they use the term survivor girl in this film and it throws me.
Too many syllables.
Yeah. But I love that little hint like, I ran. I didn't read fast. I was like, oh my God, this is some weird dynamic I'd love to learn more about.
You know what? If you want to learn more about it, just go read the slasher fan fiction because you can. That's literally the dynamic.
He's got it.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a bunch of like fanfic about this movie, and it's specifically either typical slasher fandom stuff where it's the reader and Leslie, but the ones there was a bunch about like Leslie and Taylor, which makes sense, right?
Makes
Because
sense. Yeah.
there are moments where like, there's that connection there. Clearly, right?
Yes,
Because
yes,
it's
Salvador, literal slash fiction.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
Go away,
it
baby.
is. And so yeah, the slasher fandom loves their slash fic about their favorite monsters and villains and themselves, and I love it for them. I try not to click on it anymore. I learned my lesson the hard way, that it's not for me.
Stop it.
But I was like, "Oh, okay, so there's a bunch of, like, Leslie and Taylor stuff," but, like, that whole act of obsession with, that she inadvertently become like, he's obsessed with her, clearly, right?
Yeah.
Because he's been watching her, he's picked her, he's immediately
Yeah.
understood everything about her, laid the groundwork, but inevitably that her becoming equally obsessed with him, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
So
It's like, I
It-
guess.
It does have all the makings of a really good rom-com.
Aw, da, da, da.
A dark rom-com, I guess. What's the, is it like the opposite? Like, it's gotta be like a dark comedy type
Yeah.
situation, but
We're gonna
Puts me in
maybe
the mind of,
someday
like, the
we'll see it in
Baxter.
Anomaly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, like it happened, it came to us. But oh
Yeah.
god, I just love that because it adds a depth. Like, oh, he's got a support system too.
People love him, warn him, where they're just like, "Don't
Yeah.
get sloppy," where he's like, "Don't get
Yeah.
sloppy."
I love it. They're excited about the Ahab. It's Eugene's wife who's like, you know what? The first kill maybe should be a librarian. like she's steeped in this too, which I'm like, it's both adorable and terrifying at the exact same time. Which again I love, and it humanizes Leslie just so then when he monsterizes again, it hits you hard. The movie keeps trying to like, oh, but like he's just a guy. He just loves what he does, and then bam, which I like.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the first time you see that, and it's probably is it when he yells at her, like, outside the
I
car?
remember
It,
the
like,
yeah.
really is
Yeah.
I think the
intense.
first time it's when it's when Dr. Oh god, it's Mancuso because it's related to Friday the 13th producer, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, when he comes and he tells them in the diner like, hey, his actual name. Oh no, Leslie's name is Mancuso, but he's like, hey, he's actually a patient of mine. What's he going by now?
Yep.
So I think so then she comes out and he's pissed at her because
Yep.
she was not supposed to go anywhere near the final girl. This is where she works.
Yep.
But then she turns it on him and says, well, what were you doing in Reno with Dr. And he grabs her by the throat and slams her. And so we see it, which I think is important. Like there's little crumbs that like, oh no, he's a killer. But then the movie works to kind of like, just like
Smooth it
Taylor
over.
makes you go, okay, but he's just intent, which I think again is really effective to kind of like lower your defenses each time while still be going, we told you. Yeah.
Love it. 10
Yeah.
10.
I was gonna say that was so good. I didn't know how to follow that. Like,
Yeah, my brain was
absolutely
like, yes,
nails
I
it.
must process. Excellent.
Yeah.
I have thought about this film a lot. Hey, another Easter egg at Eugene's cabin? That Evil Dead Delta 88's outside. That's Eugene's car.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was watching through again and then looked at some other like people had done Easter eggs because there's just a bunch of really nice ones. Like, aw. I love Leslie. So when we're talking about the doctor and the doctor's like, this is all bullshit. I love that then we can talk about what's this story that Leslie came up with. He knows that you have to have a legend. Like, like, oh, the counselors were all having sex and little Jason drowned, or Freddie was a monster and the parents all banded together and burned him. I like that like Leslie's so into it. He's like, I have to have a story. Like he has a costume and he came up with this entire thing about being like the family farm and him being like the people think he was possessed and killed his family. So they threw him off a waterfall. Like that just shows that level of his awareness of slashers that the audience would also have. Yeah. Like we have Leslie's level of knowledge watching, especially like 80s slashers, which I like. They're like, yeah, you would do the same thing. Yeah, probably. Got to have a good legend.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I like about it, because we've seen other movies that are kind of, genre parodies where they're kidding on the square again, where they're calling it out like exactly, and they're almost like staring down the barrel and going, hey, remember this from Halloween? Like that kind of thing, like the guy coming out of the bushes and you're like, oh, it's that shot from Halloween.
Yeah.
This is making that assumption without hitting you over the head with it.
Yes.
Like Spartan movie and all that, which is something that,
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to put that. Like this movie knows you know your stuff.
It
You
knows
know?
that you have a shared frame of reference, and it doesn't need
Yeah.
to hit you in the ribs to say, "Hey, this is that
Yeah.
that remember the scythe from Sling Blade?" Like, no, we don't. I get it. Yes, we've seen those movies.
Yeah, and I think it also works with even without that knowledge because the movie's also telling you it. Like you could
Yeah.
watch it as a class
Mhm.
on a certain kind of slasher. You know, Leslie's going to teach you. Professor Leslie's going to come on in, and he's going to tell you all the basics, all the stuff that you got to hit if you want to be this style of iconic slasher.
Well, and when he was breaking down, it was really interesting kind of how you said like it's feels smarter than Scream because when he's talking to her specifically about, you know, how this is going to be a transformation, how she's going
Mm,
to grab,
yeah.
you know, the phallic weapon that she's going to be, but that's like it that there's that nonfiction book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, and these are
Yeah.
things that are covered in that, right?
Oh
So
Oh
yeah.
it's
yeah.
Oh
like
yeah.
it's like that just on
Yeah.
screen type of
Yeah. He's like,
conversations.
she destroys him with the cock. He doesn't
Yeah,
literally says that, but I like that because, like, yeah, like this idea of like whether or not you think Leslie's overthinking this is how deep he's there into it, and that's how deep
yeah,
some of us are too. Like, no,
yeah.
this is simple. That's why the same story gets told. It's a fairy tale. It is a Grimm's tale. Like that, you repeat the same thing. You know, it's like that on that level.
Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
it's the horror movie version of the Gilgamesh hero story, right? It's
Yeah,
that whole like Joseph
yeah,
Campbell thing, but for
yeah,
slashers.
Yeah, and he's even
yeah,
talking about like the pseudosexual like
yeah.
breakdown of it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? Like,
It's like you're in the womb and you embrace. I love that because he's just being so very real. Like
yeah,
he's this is not an ironic thing he's saying. This is like
yeah,
this has to happen for this to be the thing it needs to be. And on top of it, we now know that in many ways it's like he's telling her what he wants her to do. And he
yeah,
even wants, he needs. He needs Taylor to be that final girl. And as you're watching it again, there's a lot of times when he's talking about his dream, and in many ways you can see him like, I need you to be on board with this because
yeah.
everything I'm gonna do depends on you, and you don't know that yet.
He gets that faraway look in his eye, and sometimes, like, he won't look at her specifically,
Yes.
but, like,
Yeah.
you know he's talking about her at
Yeah.
the you know, on a rewatch or if you think back to it, where he
Yeah.
just is, like and particularly that scene where he's, like they were sitting in the kinda 2 chairs, and he's just, like, leaning forward and getting
Yes.
more
Yeah.
quiet and more intense, and it's like, "Yep, this is I want you to
Yeah.
hear this and
Yeah.
ingrain it,
Please.
because
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
for you, and I'm begging you to
Yeah.
deliver." Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I'm
it's
giving you
super
the
interesting.
script
Yeah.
for how this has to
Yeah.
go, and it needs to be
Yeah.
followed perfectly.
yeah,
Oh
she
yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
even realize it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a scene, I think it's the last time she's talking to, like, Eugene and his wife, and they're outside, and she literally asks the question, like, "So, if you, like, encounter a slasher like you, what do you do?" And it's so funny because you watch Leslie almost steps back, and he's quiet as he's listening to, like, Eugene just says, "Just run. Find someone slower than you." But literally he says, you run until you reach the sunset, and you keep going because if we wanna get you, we'll get you." And it's so interesting to watch what Leslie's doing back there because he's almost like, "Yeah, listen, like listen to this. What if you met a slasher hypothetically and you were part of it? You know, it's super. There's a lot of is it Nathan Basil?
Mhm.
I gotta talk. Like his performance is amazing, and a lot of that is like the quiet stuff and the physical stuff that he's not saying it, but as you're watching, you go, "Oh, okay." Like you see what Leslie's thinking and what he's trying to help without him having to verbalize it, which I really enjoy. You know?
Absolutely. I'm just trying to see what else he's done.
Yeah. This
Not
shit, like this,
much.
I
He's in
can't
Cold Case.
believe. I'm so upset because I'm like, he's so good in this. Like, I just think he's so good because it's such a fine line between charming and terrifying and being a
Yeah.
legit threat, and he nails it all. That giddiness, he's giddy sometimes. He's so that time when he has the Ahab and he literally rolls around
Yeah,
backwards and stands up like a
yeah.
kid, but then grabs her throat, and you're like, holy shit! Like you see that, and it happens in a snap.
So he decided to become a post-production coordinator, and he has worked on The Deadliest Catch for 110 episodes.
Wow.
Oh
So that
wow,
is
he's been
his
seeing.
so he's been
Yeah.
working a lot in the editorial
Yeah.
stuff, but as far as him being an actor,
Oh my God. He is the king of Discovery channel shows.
I hope that's been good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to do a sequel for the longest time, and he was always on board. It sounds like everything I read with him, he was very not protective of the character of Leslie Vernon, but felt very much connected. Like, I would love to be him again, which kind of breaks my heart. They did a comic book that was like basically it was like the sequel they wrote and never got to do.
Okay.
And I think I've seen
before the mask,
sequel.
the return of So it's but like it still breaks my heart because like I was like everyone was on board. It just took so long to hit to anyone to be convinced to do the sequel. It's just a shame because I would have, damn.
That's it.
I would have loved to see Leslie ride again.
Or how
he did it.
Yeah. Or how
he made it.
Catch
so
on
big.
Any of those CBS shows, like how many of those procedurals, like how did he not catch on as like a second banana on NCIS Detroit?
A character actor, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It. Yeah.
Like he's totally that guy.
Yep. Yep.
It's
I love it. Yeah,
because he's got a weird magnetism to him.
Yeah,
and he's got that.
I just hope he's happy. Like Nathan, I hope you're happy and satisfied because you've brought us much joy. And fuck, if it's just Leslie, then hell yeah. If Leslie's the thing you did, most people don't even get that.
Yeah,
horror icon, one and done horror icon. You don't have to prove anything.
No,
that's true. I mean, you're in a movie with two other horror icons that just keep going back to the well over and over again with diminishing results. Like, although Robert Englund, whenever you get him out of the Freddy stuff, is usually delightful.
Oh yeah. Ooh, let me talk about Witchmaster sometime.
Yes, we should just
actually that's gonna be in our Rex. 1 second, I'm changing what I'm recommending. Right. Okay, there we go. Just granted. Okay.
And delete.
Okay.
All right. What else do we want to say about?
So the ending, because Meg said he's not supernatural, right?
Yes, so he's absolutely not. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. Okay, because this is absolutely laid out. Okay, so the first, because we see how his training. So we know that, like, not only does he do the cardio, we know that he can control his breath because Eugene has taught him. Eugene's not the only one using the, like, be buried and control your breath so you look dead. So we know that he has that. We literally see him putting the flame-resistant gel on.
Oh, good point.
Like when he's looking in the mirror. And he's like, so he's coating himself in that. Plus, he just told Taylor that he has gaffed everything at this farm. He's taken the tops and loosened them off of things. He's half sawed through the tree branches. You think he didn't, like, gaff the shit out of his little, like, farmhouse thing? Plus, why was it so easy to set on fire in the first place if he didn't set... Everything else happened exactly the way he planned it. So the end is exactly how he planned it, too. And if he's going to become an icon, he has to live. It has to look like he died. And live. That's all part of it. So that's all set up. So when you see him, spoilers for the end credits, set to the tune of Psycho Killer, which is mwah, and we're just watching the camera monitor, like the security cam at the morgue.
At the morgue.
Yeah, and he just laid out that the morgue workers working, who I believe is Kane Hodder as well, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just sits up at the end. That's exactly it. Like, because he can control his breath, and he had the flame-resistant stuff on, and everything was gaffed and changed. So he doesn't have to be supernatural. That was just good planning and a commitment to the strategy.
Talent.
I love that read on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't see even another way to read it. I'm like, he's not supernatural.
Yeah, and he's
just good at his job.
Yeah. Yeah, because when he's pausing this stuff and explaining about it's like preparation H, but he's like saying it like it's a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's kind of elongating what he's saying.
Yeah,
there's like a tone to it. Yeah, like, yes, this is a thing that is rooted in truth, but I'm not actually doing what I'm saying I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I just feel like that was always part of the plan. He couldn't tell Taylor. He needs her to fully commit to killing him. Because it's symbolic, man. That's the whole thing. He's so happy as he's getting his head crushed. Like, he's the happiest he's ever been. I love that scene. Yeah. I love that scene right before they start, where it's Taylor and Leslie, and he's all prepared. They're sitting up on top. I think it's the barn. So it's like that second part of the barn.
Yeah.
And he is crying. because he is so full of emotion, because he's so excited, because it's about to happen and everything's there. She's there. He just needs that one switch over, and he's pretty sure that she'll do what she'd do. So he's just there, and he's also really hoping. Like that thing where and then she reaches his hand out. I almost feel like at that point he knows.
Yep, that he's got her.
That this is happening, and it's oddly touching. I'm like, oh no, he's about to kill a bunch of kids, but also I'm like, it's his whole life's work, and he genuinely cares about it. People don't care about their craft anymore, but Leslie Vernon, he's emotionally attached to his work. It's art, really.
Treating it like it's his wedding day. It's incredible.
That's one of the moments that make the film for me, because he's not like a psycho killer in that, he just likes to kill. For him, I swear to God, I'm not defending this slasher, but the way it's presented is, for him, this is sacred. Eugene says earlier that there has to be evil for good to matter, basically, as he's cooking the sausage. He also has that same belief system where, like, I have to be a vessel of evil, and that makes the gooder, basically. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm saying it's a belief. It's an ethos.
I mean,
it's an ethos.
Yeah, it's grounded in real, like, serial killer psychology. There's the product killer and the process killer, and these guys are both process killers. Like, they have a reason for what they're doing, and they're not doing it for the dead bodies. They don't really so much care about the bodies, but it's the act that really makes them act. And that was kind of an interesting thing too, that I never really, because usually you don't see the logic behind the slasher movies. It's just, you've got, Victor Crowley going through and just absolutely murking a bunch of people. There's no real psychological analysis there.
But his doctor didn't show up.
No. Exactly. But the fact that he's plotting that out for you all the way through, I'm like, oh no, this completely dovetails with actual serial killer philosophy and actual serial killer conversations or interviews that I've heard. Because I mean, Leslie Vernon is almost a 1-for-1 dupe for Ted Bundy, the way he talks about some stuff. Because there's that quote from him where he's like, one day you just forget where you put the wrench as you're in the middle of killing somebody. I didn't get that quote exact, but he's like, you do it for a while, you get away with it, and then one day you're killing somebody and you forget where you put the wrench and you get caught, and that's that. Like, just matter of fact, just that kind of thing. And it kind of syncs up with Leslie, the way he acts with it, and the way Eugene kind of understands it, and there's like this ethos to it that it syncs up with real serial killer psychology, which is super interesting too, I think.
And also, not to be bad for us, but it also syncs up a bit with, say, a horror fan understanding of slashers. Like, you can just enjoy a bunch of dumb people getting killed, but sometimes it's also the journey of, it's the mythology. It's the why and how does this connect, So all of a sudden you're like, yeah, Leslie. And God, I hope that's the horror fan in me and not the serial killer in me. Please don't use it. Okay, officer, when you collect this for the court case, please conclude this part where I said, no, I'm a serial killer. Yes, I'm the horror fan. Okay, I'm covered, everybody. Whew.
Yes, as a horror fan, I love watching the final girl go feral. Like, every time.
Absolutely.
It's still satisfying. In this film where you kind of know at a certain point what's going to happen, you still love seeing Taylor, like, I'm like, yeah, get that axe.
Yep.
So what a great setup is. It takes nothing away from that final part. That's how powerful it is. Leslie knew. That is a powerful moment in those films, Yep. Plus, an apple orchard is a great setting.
It really is.
I love it. I love it so much. Creepy. It's just like, it's creepy. Like, apples are fertility. It's the original sin. Like, oh God, shut up. I love it. And plus, you have a fairly unique final kill with her crushing his head in the cider press.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have not seen that before.
No. It reminded
only
me
thing better. Oh, good.
Oh, I was like, it just reminded me of why am I blanking with the bread slicer?
Fear Street. Oh my. Holy shit.
I mean, not as, we don't see it, but like that level
originality where you're like, I've never seen that in a horror film. Yeah. Holy, shout out to Fear Street. Oh my God. But like, Okay. Oh God, what the hell was I saying? I forgot. Don't worry about
no, so sorry.
no, this is important. Fear Street love is important. Okay, what a miracle that was. Hey, you like films? How about 3 of them? Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, and you get one a Friday. They're gonna
Yeah.
tell you a complete overarching story.
Yes.
The only one that feels like a standalone is the second one, but I mean, you can get through the second one and not have it be a part
Yeah,
of the
yeah. That's
story.
just a 70s slasher right there. That just works. But then it does, you go, oh, that's her. And then, and then fuck this town. And fuck that other town. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Very gruesome. That bread slicer death will haunt me till I'm dead. Good Lord. And we're supposed to get a new one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh, I remembered. I think the only kill that matches that for me is the post hole one where he cuts the guy's heart out, brings it out. I think it's one of the stoners, and he has his hand out, so he puts the heart in his hand.
Yeah,
and he's still alive to look at.
Yeah,
I was like, damn.
Yeah, Temple of Doom's him.
Yeah. Ooh, but speaking of interesting death scene, I love that. Okay, we lose one of the camera guys with Taylor, but I think that's actually super effective because first he's trying to distract Leslie and make him go away from the kids, which what a great thing, right? And then of course he inevitably falls, and then Leslie's on top of him, killing him, and he takes Leslie's mask off, and he's trying to be like, hey, remember, it's me, it's Todd. We just spent a couple weeks together. I love that moment of he's trying to find the human again, but that's not there. Like that this is Leslie's evolution.
Yeah.
And nothing can stop that. Even the camera guy who he did card tricks with, which I thought was like super effective.
Oh yeah, Todd was like always impressed by him. Like anytime, like laughed with him or it was amazed by him. Like when he's explaining the anchor. Just completely. Oh yeah, and he's the same thing with the anchor when he's looking down. He's like, "Oh, blood, so cool." Yeah, he's just 100% like invested in a fanboy, right? Like,
exactly.
Him. And it's like that did not save you.
Nah, but I get just that removing the mask because he's literally trying to get behind the mask, but he's literally like, "No, Leslie," and like, "No, this is Leslie." The mask was the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is Leslie, Ugh.
Yeah.
I like this film.
It's
Couldn't tell.
Really good.
It is excellent.
Just the way it looks, considering they did not have a lot of money. This is a very low budget film. And I think making it mostly documentary helps. Because they're using their documentary cameras for everything except for the end part where all of a sudden now we are in a movie because Taylor has put down the camera. Yeah. And now we are in the movie that Leslie is making, which again is super effective. And I like how they do that.
I was going to say, because you get tastes of it throughout the movie when he does his kind of reenactments in his head. Yeah. He's kind of walking you through it. It's that exact same.
Yeah. It's how he sees it.
That's how we start it. We start the movie, right, with the girl at the trash can. And that's not.
Yeah. Which I love. Because it's like, and then we get to see the funny version of that, which it was a brick on fishing line. And Taylor helped. Yeah. Is complicit.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I like that little bit of like that stylistic that the movie teaches us throughout. Like, okay, but this is like the horror movie view. Right. We have the documentary behind the scenes view, and then we have the horror movie view. And I like that the end is in horror movie view because that is what he's creating.
Exactly. When it makes that turn and you are fully in Leslie's world at that point, right?
Yeah.
It turns into that. It's no longer Taylor's lens. It's Leslie's.
Yeah. And I love that they know stuff, but not enough to change anything. Because like he only told them what he wanted to tell them.
Yeah.
They thought he was giving away all the secrets.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes them too long to like click to realize like he is literally pulling all of the strings here. Yeah. Like there are several times where anyways he told you like, are we going to do this now? I even think back to the diner. He's like, okay, are we going to have this conversation right now where, we go back and forth. It's like he knows every single move. What's it going to happen? And so, of course.
And I'm not saying the kids deserve to die, but he did say they're kind of dumb, and those kids are kind of dumb.
They are very dumb.
I love that one thing where he's it's that morning when he's showing Taylor all the things, and he's nailing the window shut, and she's like, "Don't they just break out the window?" And he's like, No,
No.
they never do. But like that, like they never do.
No.
Or they absolutely go upstairs and have sex, and they absolutely went upstairs and had sex.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and then the stoners, which are there to pad out your numbers, which I'm like, ow, but also yeah, they run a little slower. He said.
Yeah, there's
Oh yeah. As he's watching the one like stumble up the hill, he's like, "Yeah,
Oh
look at him."
God, yeah, look at him. So I'm like, he knows all these. He absolutely, and then just putting Taylor into 2 camera guys in there, he's already like you are already accounted for. He knows
Yes.
what you're gonna do.
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh.
this movie, man. It
Yeah.
could have gone so wrong because it is so
Yeah.
meta.
Yeah.
It could have but it absolutely just threads the needle on every one of the gambles it makes, because it very
Yeah.
easily could have been
No.
Yeah.
oh no, he is supernatural because he's omnipotent, and this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, it's absolutely it feels very human, and it feels very,
Yeah,
it's
that
just
first, that first time we see him in the costume and the mask, which obviously he's put a lot of thought into,
yeah.
because he is the child who's returned from the farm, so he's got the overalls and this weird kind of cherubic mask and a scythe and bare feet, which apparently, one of the things I was watching, Nathan Basil decided on his own to do, even though they were filming in like November, because he was like, but this is what Leslie would do. He'd want to, he's a
Right.
perfectionist,
because it plays
this-
into that.
yeah, the feral man-child would have bare feet. And we would first see it totally in the library. I'm like, this works though. We could have lost it because we see Leslie in, this is kind of the first time we see him in like Leslie Vernon
action.
mode.
Yeah.
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 And I'm like, oh, look at him jumping around like a little slasher monkey.
Yeah, he's like, look at him. He's like a monkey. He's like, yeah, he's like,
He's been putting the work in. You got to have abs to move like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I thought like, oh, okay, because that had to work too. Like, even though we know it's all like he's made it up, we have to buy it as, hey, if I was like in the library and I saw that coming at me, yeah, I'd be a little affected.
yep.
Yeah, mildly disturbed, I think.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to process what's this.
You know, if
What's happening over there?
yeah, if 1 second I've got the creepy lady from Poltergeist in front of me, and
In
then
my
I've
face.
got
Yeah.
Yes.
and then all of a
So
sudden
great to
I've
see
got-
Zelda Rubinstein too. I think this is the last, one of her last film roles.
I mean, it would have to be. It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Good
2010.
casting.
So
The movie knew. The
Yeah.
movie's like, oh, you'll buy it from her way more than just random person. Like, yeah,
Yes.
of course she
Mhm.
knows.
Yep.
She knows all about this shit.
this was next to last, the same year that Southland Tales came out.
Hmm.
So what a year for her.
Go out strong. Hell yeah.
And then some movie called Strange Matters that there is not even a Wikipedia link for, so it's just out there, and who knows what it is.
Well, I hope she enjoyed the cash. Because
Maybe.
at that point, I'm like, no, just keep Zelda happy.
Yeah.
She's already made her
It's the
mark.
Microwave massacre of her career.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Sometimes
work.
you take the check and it's okay.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. Okay, what else? I mean, here's the thing. I could either talk for 3 more hours about this, or maybe we go to recommendations or something.
I was going to
because-
say, let's throw final thoughts in there, and then we'll go to recommendations.
I like this movie a
I
lot.
love it too
Well said.
because I was looking, right? Because Meg, you said before we started, like, how did this movie kind of get lost?
Yeah.
And The Hills Have Eyes came out that year. Silent Hill came out that year. What else would have been? There was a lot going on, but I don't think anything. The Wicker Man.
I was going to say, I
Oh.
don't even think this went theatrical.
No.
Yeah, it's the same. There was like some apologies, but like it feels a lot of mid-tier stuff was out. When there was a lot of horror, but none of it was like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it might have gotten lost in the sauce.
Yeah. Oh, it did get a limited run in March of 2007 by Anchor Bay. So
Yeah, and then I know that they were kind of hoping, as they were like thinking about a sequel. In fact, I think the writer had at a certain point a trilogy in mind, just because that like fits.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like they were really hoping that it would pop quicker. Like they were hoping it once it got on like home video, and it just took too long for like the cult of Leslie Vernon to grow, because it exists now. Like I would say most horror fans are familiar if haven't seen it themselves yet. Like it's not a lost classic anymore. It was a slow classic, and that's frustrating when everyone was ready to make a sequel,
it took a good 10 years, I want to say,
Yeah.
before people really, really got behind it. I mean, it's one of those where, like, for that 10 years, it was one of those, the heads know and nobody else does kind of thing where, like,
Yeah, the thing that you tell your friend, like, oh, you should try this, check this out, though.
Yeah.
Like that level.
Yeah.
It was all word of mouth.
To Celador's point earlier in the chat, he brought up that saw it at Blockbuster but never rented it. So it wasn't even this is all, don't forget, pre-streaming, eh? So
yeah,
it wasn't as easy
to
or
just,
it wasn't as easy, but also like Blockbuster 2006, that's when you're
it's the
starting
worst
to
time.
that's when
starting to crater.
Yeah, it was timing. It was real shit timing.
So it was
for the
that
secondary market, yeah.
Netflix, you try to get it mailed to you, you forget the name of it by the time you get home to put it in your computer to get it mailed to you. So
I remember getting
it's that
DVDs
terrible,
yeah.
that terrible donut hole for movies where if they didn't hit the theaters and you didn't happen to see it at your buddy's house, you just weren't going to see it.
Though I'll tell you, if you do want to see Nathan Basil as Leslie Vernon again, there is a couple years ago the Dead Meat channel on YouTube, right? So they did a kill count for Leslie Vernon. It's like 4 years ago, and at the very end, apparently they called up Nathan, and he showed up the house, and he filmed a little thing about like as being Leslie, talking about you're doing this wrong. Why? What are you counting the numbers? It's not about the numbers. I was like, oh, it was just that little like, oh my god, look, Leslie's still about. It was very sweet. It was like 2 minutes, and it made my day.
That is so funny.
So that's how willing he is. He's like, I will put the overalls on again.
One of those things where it's just like, it spoke to him. It was a project he clearly loved, and he will always go back and just,
hell yeah.
Leslie holds a special place in his heart, just like the rest of us. Like,
yeah, for good or bad, I don't know. Okay, it just is a fact.
Yes.
As an aside, I think the next time we talk to Danhausen, we have to ask if part of his makeup isn't inspired by Leslie Vernon.
Oh, I hope so. I just want to believe that now.
Because I know part of it was Captain Howdy, but I know. We'll have to ask him next time we see him.
Yeah. Hey, Danhausen, wait for us. We have questions. Right. We're buddies.
He might be back here in October, so we'll see.
Okay, we're gonna do an Anomaly goes to wrestling.
Yes. Just holding up Anomaly loves Dan. Anomal housing.
Yeah, I think he's going to be back down at Water Street.
Yep.
We all do the face. Even the potato. Hey, should I put paint on the potato? We'll find out.
Yep.
See, it's a GCW show. Don't bring the potato. Somebody's going to hit him.
Yeah, potato won't make it out.
There's going to be eyeballs everywhere.
Yeah, eyeballs everywhere. That thing would hurt.
Yeah.
That thing would hurt.
Eyeballs are acrylic. You wouldn't expect it, but there's like little hard bits in the soft bits.
Maybe we make like a shemp potato to take. Like,
I have not thought about using the many-eyed potato as a weapon. I just want you to know that. I just had that answer quick. I haven't thought about if I had to use them for self-defense.
Oh no, they're getting out. They're going to be safe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is the biggest bludgeon that we have. That is our
the potato's gone. We look around, gone. Yep. Oh crap! Something's about to happen. He's got potato sense. Yep. He's got so many eyes.
Eyes in the back of his head.
Yep.
All right. Okay, terrific.
Recommendations?
Recommendations, shall we?
Yeah.
Meg, you want to light this candle?
Yeah. Okay, I have two because I just added Wishmaster. Okay. So first is Wishmaster. If you're talking about another film that is a love letter to kind of 80s, 90s horror, I suggest Wishmaster starring Andrew Divoff. See the first two, the ones that have Andrew Divoff in it. Don't watch the other ones. You're worth more than that. But anyway, it's about a genie that grants wishes in the worst way possible. And it's full of all these like horror luminaries in little roles because it knows you want to see them, And it's fun. I love that first Wishmaster. It loves horror films as much as you do.
Yeah. And Andrew Divoff is really like the Robert Picardo of Zadars.
Wow. I saw him in an episode of Leverage and I got so happy. I was like, look, it's the Wishmaster.
It's him.
He's got such a specific look, man.
He does. He's either an ancient genie or some sort of Eastern European mobster.
Yeah. I think he was in Faust if I remember right, and that was
I haven't seen that. I gotta see it now. All my Andrew Divoff stuff. I'm a completionist.
It's basically Wishmaster but Faust. What was?
and then
recommendation numero 2.
Yeah. Okay. Another film, which I think is interesting, if we're talking more about, say, the relationship between Leslie and Taylor, and an interesting like study in like killer maybe victim. Creep 2. Mark Duplass film, and Creep's fun. It's a freaky one about a photographer, camera guy who get hired by this kind of reclusive dude out in the woods to film his last days for his family. But of course, that's not actually what's happening. This guy's a kind of a nut killer, and he has a wolf mask. So we're like, what do you do with 2? Well, the person he kind of like because he always changes like who he is and stuff, and he kind of finds someone to come to this cabin, right? He finds this director, but here's the thing: she's a director. She's not just like a camera person, and you end up with this push and pull between like who gets to control the story, and the reason why she stays, and like who is in control of the story, the killer or her, and what's she willing to do to create something that people will watch. So it's very interesting because you start dealing with who's obsessed with who, and it's interesting when the power dynamic shifts and keeps going back and forth. It's less funny. But it is Mark Douglas says there is humor in it. There is humor in it. But yeah, there's it's a fun ride if you find that fun. I can't guarantee you'll find it fun. I found it fun. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, Creep 2 is fun for some.
Creep 2 fun for some. A rousing endorsement.
Thank you.
KP.
So actually, my brain has been on the X-Men 97 train because that just ended, and also hung out with my cousin Friday and had like a Tekken 8 marathon. So that's nothing new. But that whole, I don't know, it's been so long since I've read this book, but that obsession, like that weird obsession type thing, reminded me of that book Out. I guess it was published in 1997. It's like a Japanese novel, Natsuo Kirino. And it was like about a group of women who all work like the night shift at a meatpacking plant, and one of the guys has like she has a deadbeat husband that she kills, and so then they all have to cut up the body and like go and get rid of it. But like you got the ringleader, and then like if I remember correctly, she gets like involved with the Yakuza. I remember that book was riveting and dark, and also had like that weird like pseudo sexual obsession kind of thing to it. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah. But if you haven't watched X-Men 97, please go watch that.
Or X-Men 97. Okay, get it together.
I do have to watch that.
It's so good, so good. You tell the people that loved it, who one, they love X-Men. 2, you know that they played Marvel vs. Capcom. Because some of those fight scenes, are moves from like Marvel vs. Capcom, or Rogue does one that I think is from Street Fighter vs. Capcom. So,
nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
Also, Professor X and Eric absolutely kissed in this, whether you see it or not. It's just there. It's text. Okay, like this show is not interested in like pretending this didn't happen. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
They know what their relationship is. Okay, and this is part of it.
Yep.
They have to deal with it. They gotta talk like adults. I'm fine. I just think that there's a lot of stuff that wouldn't be a problem if they would just talk this out.
No, they broke up and made it everyone else's problem.
Yes, yes. They made separate schools. There's an entire nation that exists partly because Xavier can't talk about his emotions.
Yes.
That's my favorite read about the X-Men ever. Is that it's just
like,
the world's worst breakup.
We have a whole nation now, so I don't need you and your bullshit. Okay, I blame English boarding school for you, Xavier. Yeah. I feel like it made all your emotions go in a box. Okay.
Yep. And Celador's right. It is X-Men versus Capcom. Yeah.
Nice.
Does little.
Yeah.
But yes,
awesome.
Highly recommend. Also, make sure your tissues are near you as well. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Matt, what do you have?
I've got 2 things this week as well. Man, we are so cultured this week. It's amazing.
We're doing other stuff. It's great.
Yeah. I started watching Resident Alien, the Alan Tudyk Northern Exposure, but he's an alien.
Yep.
And holy shit, is that a fun show? Like
I've been meaning to.
I saw any of the clips that pop up on TikTok. I'm like, oh, this is very funny.
Yep.
And then I'm 3 or 4 episodes into the first season, and it's hysterical because it's everything if you're me.
I love Alan Tudyk.
I really enjoyed Northern Exposure.
Yes.
And Alan Tudyk is always incredible because he's just got the most deadpan. It's perfect. There's a whole sequence where he's learning to be human.
Oh no.
And learning how to like move and walk and eat, that I don't think I've laughed harder at anything in the last like 6 months. It's hysterical.
I have a reason to study gray aliens now, so I should probably watch this. It's
watch
important for purposes.
For
research
reasons.
purposes.
Yes.
It's research, also research purposes.
Yes. And my other one is a music recommendation. Knocked Loose has a new album out. You won't go before you're supposed to. It is probably my favorite record of the year so far. It's hardcore by way of death metal. It starts with a jump scare, which is pretty fun. I've never had an album jump scare me. But it is the riffs are crazy. Lyrically, it's fantastic. There's a collaboration with Poppy on there.
Oh, nice.
And her voice on that song, she goes for a guttural scream on that would turn your spine to glass. It's incredible. So yeah, the new Knocked Loose is very good. Check it out if you're into that sort of thing, or if you want to scare your parents or pets or significant others.
Sold.
Yeah, it's a good
right.
Yeah, it's a good alarm clock record. Yeah, so those are my big recommendations.
Put that pull quote out there. It's a good alarm.
It's a good alarm clock record.
Yes. Yay. We're very cultured.
Yeah, we're very cultured this week. Do you want to be cultured? Look at how we're gonna do this.
No.
Slick.
The Anomaly Film Festival, the Rochester Genre Film Festival, Rochester's best genre film festival, I'll go so far to say. November 6th through the 10th at the Little Theater, beautiful Rochester, New York. That's anomalyfilmfest.com, Anomaly Film Fest on all the social medias. Be sure to check us out on social media because we have one of the finest social media folks in the game working for us, doing all of our socials.
Who? Where are they?
It's
Gotta
Meg.
fight them? Oh, there's another Megan?
You
gotta fight him.
You.
I don't know. I don't sound right, but I'll just go with it for now so it's not awkward.
The thing I love,
the real person though. I will find the other Megan and we'll dance. Okay.
The thing I love about this film festival is that we're all very talented, but we're all very humble.
It's important. It's important.
So, it is. So yeah, November 6th through the 10th. We've got so much good stuff to show you. We are, I think there's 20 some odd hours of submissions we've got so far. If you want to add your stuff to it, please do. We'd love to see what you make. We are on Film Freeway under Anomaly Film Fest. And we hope to feature your film. Send it in and see what happens. Yeah.
We'll see. And then you'll see.
We'll see. You'll see. And then all goes well. A theater full of people will see. It's the Anomaly Film Festival.
Yeah.
This year, carnival flavored.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
a normal carnival, it's fine. Why would we do a dark carnival? Not us. This is just a regular carnival that pulls up, and it definitely doesn't run on souls. Okay, so if someone asks you to make a wish, just go ahead and wish. It's fine. It'll be fine.
It's a dark carnival, but not so far as Juggalo Carnival. I think that's what we have to.
That's a different energy. I can't pull that off.
No,
I'd be like, I gotta take a nap, everybody.
And God knows that KP and I just couldn't do the makeup.
No.
Well, we get as far as the pancake. I think we could get as far as the pancake white, and that's about as far as we'd get.
Yep.
That's the only reason, everybody. It's the only reason. Yeah. We just can't get it together. Besides that, we were in.
Yep.
So if you come and you see KP and I standing there looking like two half-ass goths, that's why. But you won't know unless you come. November 6th to the 10th. It's the Anomaly Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Anybody else have any final words before we shut the door on this one?
No.
right.
we're good. Hey, yo, watch this movie, okay?
Watch this movie. Watch bunches of movies. This is Anomaly. We
Yeah.
love you. See you next time. Bye.
This has been a presentation of the Lunchador Podcast Network.